The wind howled across the Heartland ranch as Amy stood frozen by the barn door, her hands trembling and her heart sinking. The voice she just heard from behind the wall wasn't just any voice, it was Nathan's. And the words he spoke shattered her world. "I did what I had to do. Heartland deserves to fall." In that one chilling moment, Amy realized the truth. The man she trusted, the man she had begun to believe in, was the very one tearing her world apart from within. It had been months since Amy Fleming began to feel like herself again. The mornings at Heartland were peaceful, the kind that carried the scent of hay and the warmth of the rising sun. Amy's days were filled with caring for the horses, training clients, and finding small moments of calm in the chaos of ranch life. Though Ty's absence still echoed in her heart, she had learned to live with the pain, letting the ranch heal her slowly, piece by piece. That was when Nathan came along, a skilled horseman with a quiet smile and steady hands. He'd shown up one chilly morning, asking if the ranch needed extra help for the season. Jack had taken to him immediately, seeing something trustworthy in his eyes. Even Lou had admitted that Nathan was hardworking, respectful, and seemed to care deeply about Heartland's mission. And Amy, well, she was cautious at first, but Nathan had a way of easing his way into people's lives, always helpful, always kind. As the weeks passed, Nathan became part of Heartland's rhythm. He helped mend fences, train new horses, and even shared late-night coffee with Amy after long, exhausting days. For the first time in a long time, she felt a spark of comfort, maybe even connection. She caught herself smiling again, laughing at his small jokes, and finding peace in his quiet company. But behind the calm surface, small things began to shift, things that didn't feel right. It started with missing supplies from the stable, tools misplaced, and feed deliveries that didn't match the order. At first, Amy thought it was simple human error. Ranch life was busy. Mistakes happened. But then, one morning, a client's horse reacted strangely during training, nervous, unsettled, almost frightened, as if something or someone had been bothering it. Jack brushed it off as bad weather. Lou said maybe it was the horse's nerves, but Amy felt something deeper. She noticed Nathan's unease whenever the topic came up, how he'd change the subject or walk away with a faint tension in his jaw. One evening, Amy found Nathan near the paddock, talking quietly on his phone. She couldn't hear much, only fragments. "They won't notice. Just a few more days. Trust me. It'll be done." Her heart pounded. But before she could ask, Nathan hung up and smiled as if nothing had happened. That night, Amy couldn't sleep. The ranch, that had always felt safe, suddenly carried a strange silence, heavy, almost haunting. Was it paranoia? Or was something truly wrong? She tried to shake the thought away, but deep down, she knew peace at Heartland never lasted long. The next morning, the sky turned gray, clouds rolling in from the west. Amy saddled up Spartan and rode out to check the pastures, her mind racing with questions she couldn't yet face. Nathan waved from across the field, his expression calm, almost too calm. What Amy didn't know was that beneath that easy smile, Nathan carried a secret, one that would soon unravel everything Heartland stood for. And when it did, Amy's trust would be shattered forever. The morning after the storm, Heartland didn't feel the same. The air was thick, heavy, like the land itself was holding its breath. Amy tried to focus on work, but her mind kept drifting back to Nathan's strange phone call. She told herself not to jump to conclusions. People had private lives after all. But deep down, her instincts whispered something she couldn't ignore. Jack was the first to sense it too. He'd been around long enough to read people better than most, and lately, he'd noticed Nathan avoiding eye contact, sneaking glances toward the road whenever a truck passed by. "That boy's hiding something," Jack muttered under his breath as he watched Nathan unload hay bales. Amy brushed it off, saying Nathan had been under a lot of pressure, but Jack's words stayed with her. That afternoon, a client's horse, Luna, refused to enter the training pen. She'd worked with Luna for weeks without a problem, but now the mare trembled, ears pinned back, eyes wide with fear. Amy soothed her gently, puzzled by the sudden change. When she examined the saddle, she noticed a small tear in the strap. something Nathan had been in charge of repairing just the day before. Her heart sank. Was it carelessness? Or something worse? Lou arrived from the city that evening, her energy sharp as always. She immediately noticed Amy's distracted. "Look, you've been quiet lately," Lou said, crossing her arms. "Is something going on?" Amy hesitated, then shook her head. She didn't want to cause tension over a feeling she couldn't explain. But Lou wasn't convinced. Heartland's been through enough secrets, she warned softly. "Don't let another one grow." Over the next few days, little things began to add up. A shipment of feed arrived short by several bags. A fence post Nathan claimed to have repaired collapsed overnight, injuring a young horse. Even more troubling, Amy caught him checking Jack's office late at night. When she confronted him, Nathan laughed it off, saying he'd just been looking for extra rope. His smile was charming, too charming, and his tone too casual. Amy wanted to believe him, but the unease in her chest only grew stronger. Then came the breaking point. During a local charity event, Heartland's name was left off the sponsor list, replaced by a rival ranch known for shady dealings. Lou was furious. Jack was confused. But Nathan, he looked nervous. Amy saw it in his hands, the way they trembled. As he poured coffee, his eyes darting away every time someone mentioned the incident. That night, Amy walked out to the barn, the moonlight glinting off the wet grass. She found Nathan sitting by the fence, staring into the dark fields. When he noticed her, he smiled faintly and said, "You ever think about leaving all this behind? Starting fresh somewhere new?" Amy frowned. "No," she said quietly. "Heartland's my home. Why would I ever want to leave?" Nathan nodded, his gaze distant. "Sometimes, people don't have a choice." Something in his tone made Amy's skin crawl. She didn't know what he meant, but his words carried the weight of someone trapped in a secret too heavy to bear. As she walked back toward the house, the night felt colder, the stars dimmer. Heartland had always been a place of healing, of hope, but now, shadows were growing beneath its peaceful surface. And Amy, torn between trust and fear, didn't yet realize that the truth was about to break through, and it would destroy far more than just her faith in Nathan. The truth has a way of finding light even when people try to bury it deep beneath lies. For Amy, that light came suddenly, sharp as a blade, cutting through every ounce of trust she'd built with Nathan. It began one early morning when the air was cold enough to turn breath into fog. Jack had been checking the north pasture fence when he noticed a trail of tire marks leading toward the old Miller property, land owned by Heartland's biggest rival, Clayton Ridge Ranch. Curious and uneasy, Jack followed the tracks and found something that didn't belong. Heartland's feed bags stacked neatly beside the rival's barn. The logo was clear, the stamp fresh. Someone had been stealing from them, someone on the inside. Jack brought the evidence straight to Amy, his jaw set with anger. "There's only one person who's had access to the supply shed this week," he said quietly. Amy didn't want to believe it. Not Nathan. Not the man who had worked beside her, laughed with her, cared for her horses as if they were his own. But denial could only stretch so far. The missing feed, the broken fences, the phone calls, they all pointed in one direction. Still, Amy needed proof. That night, she followed Nathan. She waited until everyone had gone to bed, then watched from the barn's shadow as he loaded boxes into his truck. Her hands shook, her heart racing with dread. She trailed him down the dirt road, her headlights off, keeping her distance. When he finally stopped, her breath caught. He wasn't going home. He was meeting someone, hidden behind a row of trees. Amy listened as Nathan spoke with a man she didn't recognize. Broad shoulders, rough voice, the kind of tone that made your stomach twist. "I told you. It's done," Nathan said, his voice low and angry. "Heartland won't bounce back after this. The suppliers are pulling out next month. You got what you wanted." The man laughed coldly. "You've done good work, Nathan. Once Amy loses her clients, Clayton Ridge will take the contracts. Just make sure she doesn't catch on." Amy's breath hitched too loud. Nathan turned, startled. Their eyes met through the dark. Shock washed over his face, then guilt, then fear. "Amy," he whispered, stepping toward her. "It's not what it looks like." But it was. It was exactly what it looked like. The betrayal burned deeper than any wound. Amy backed away, tears stinging her eyes. How could you? She choked out. You pretended to care. You said Heartland mattered to you. Nathan's voice cracked. It does. You don't understand. I had no choice. They threatened me, my family, my home. I never meant to hurt you. Amy shook her head, her heart breaking with every word. You did hurt me, Nathan. You hurt all of us. The sound of Jack's truck echoed from the distance, headlights slicing through the darkness. He'd followed too. Nathan froze, realizing it was over. Jack climbed out, fury blazing in his eyes. Get off this land, he growled. The next morning, Heartland was silent. Not the kind of silence that brought peace. This one felt heavy, aching, like the land itself was grieving. The sun rose slowly over the hills, spilling golden light across the barns, but it couldn't warm the chill that had settled deep in Amy's heart. Nathan was gone. His betrayal had left behind more than broken fences and missing feet. It had left cracks in the very spirit of the ranch. Amy tried to bury herself in work. She brushed Spartan's coat, repaired what Nathan had ruined, and kept herself busy from dawn till dusk. But every small sound reminded her of him: the creak of the barn door, the echo of boots on gravel, the faint smell of coffee he used to brew early in the mornings. It was as if the ranch still carried traces of him, ghosts she couldn't quite chase away. Lou noticed first. Amy wasn't eating much, wasn't sleeping either. You can't just keep working yourself numb, Lou said one afternoon, placing a gentle hand on her sister's shoulder. Amy didn't answer. Her eyes were fixed on the horizon, where Nathan had driven off just days ago. He didn't just betray Heartland, she finally whispered, her voice trembling. He made me question my own heart. I let him in, Lou, and now I don't know if I can trust anyone again. Jack overheard from the porch. He said nothing for a while, then stepped closer, his voice steady but full of pain. You did what any good person would do, Amy. You believed in someone. That's not weakness. That's what makes you who you are. But forgiveness wasn't easy. The ranch felt like it was holding its breath, waiting for Amy to find her footing again. Days turned to weeks. Rumors spread through Hudson about Nathan's betrayal, about Heartland's near downfall. Some clients hesitated to return, fearing instability. Amy faced them all with quiet strength, never bad-mouthing Nathan, never showing how much it still hurt. She refused to let his actions define Heartland or her. One evening, after everyone had gone to bed, Amy walked out to the pasture. The night was calm, the stars soft and distant. Spartan trotted toward her, brushing his muzzle against her arm as if sensing her sorrow. She smiled faintly through her tears. You've seen it all, haven't you? She whispered. Loss, love, betrayal, and still, you stand strong. In that stillness, something shifted. Amy realized that the pain Nathan left behind wasn't just destruction, it was a reminder of her resilience. He may have tried to break Heartland's trust, but he couldn't break its heart. The people, the land, the love they shared. It was stronger than deceit. A few days later, Amy returned to training with new determination. She worked with Luna again, the same horse that once trembled with fear. This time, Luna responded, calm and trusting. It was as if both of them had found the courage to heal. Lou and Jack watched from a distance, quietly proud. As Amy led Luna back to the stable, the sunset painted the sky in shades of fire and gold. For the first time since Nathan's betrayal, she felt something close to peace. Pain hadn't disappeared, it never truly does, but she had learned to live beside it. And as the light faded, Amy looked out over the fields and whispered to herself, Heartland isn't just a place. It's who we are, and no one can take that from us. The camera lingers on her face, calm, strong, unbroken, before fading out on the image of Spartan galloping across the open field, a symbol of freedom, of survival, of hope that endures even after heartbreak. Weeks had passed since Nathan's departure, but his shadow still lingered like an echo that refused to fade. Heartland was quieter now, more cautious. Yet beneath the silence, something beautiful was beginning to grow again, a quiet strength that came from surviving the storm. It was late afternoon when the letter arrived. Jack found it in the mailbox, sealed in an envelope with Amy's name written in Nathan's familiar handwriting. For a moment, Jack considered burning it. The thought of Nathan reaching back into their lives made his jaw tighten. But when he handed it to Amy, she only stared at it, her hands trembling slightly. She took the letter to the loft, the place where so many of her memories lived: laughter, love, loss, all tangled together. The sunlight streamed through the window, casting golden patterns across the floor. Slowly, she broke the seal and began to read. Nathan's words were heavy with regret. He confessed everything: how the rival ranch had cornered him with debts he couldn't pay, how he thought sabotaging Heartland would fix his problems, and how every lie had eaten away at him until he couldn't sleep. He wrote about Amy, how she made him believe in goodness again, even when he didn't deserve it. "You were the only real thing in my life," the letter read, "and I destroyed it. I'm sorry, Amy. I hope one day you can forgive me, even if I can never forgive myself." Tears fell silently onto the paper, but Amy didn't cry out in anger this time. Instead, she folded the letter neatly, placed it back into the envelope, and set it on the table. She knew she couldn't change what happened, couldn't erase the pain, but she also knew she couldn't carry it forever. Forgiveness wasn't for Nathan. It was for her own peace. That evening, Amy saddled Spartan and rode out across the open fields. The wind caught her hair, the sun dipped low behind the hills, and for the first time in a long while, she felt light. Every hoofbeat echoed like a heartbeat, steady, strong, alive. She thought about everything Heartland had endured: Ty's loss, Nathan's betrayal, and the countless times life had tested them. Yet somehow, the ranch still stood, the family still held together, and love still lived here. When she reached the top of the ridge, Amy stopped and looked out at the valley below. The land stretched endlessly, glowing in the orange haze of sunset. She smiled softly. "You can't break something that was built from love," she whispered Dade as the camera slowly pulled back. The image of Amy and Spartan standing against the horizon captured the story's final truth: that strength doesn't come from never being broken. It comes from learning how to rise again. Her voice played softly over the final shots, like a whisper carried by the wind. "Sometimes betrayal teaches you who you are. Sometimes heartbreak reminds you how strong you've become. And sometimes the end of a chapter is just the beginning of healing." The screen fades to black with the distant sound of Spartan's hooves echoing across the valley, a final heartbeat of Heartland. Alive and unshaken, the morning mist rolled softly over the valley, painting Heartland in silver light. The air smelled fresh, clean, like the earth itself was ready to start over. Amy stood by the fence, coffee in hand, watching Spartan graze in the quiet pasture. The calm felt different this time, not empty, but peaceful. It was the calm that follows understanding, the kind that comes only after you've faced everything that tried to break you. Heartland was healing. The laughter had returned to the kitchen. Lou's voice filled the air again as she argued with Jack about feed costs. The horses seemed lighter, more spirited. Life, after all, had a way of finding its rhythm again even after chaos. But peace never stays still for long at Heartland. That afternoon, as Amy finished a training session, a truck pulled up to the ranch. Its tires crunched over the gravel, echoing through the yard. Amy wiped her hands on her jeans and turned to see a stranger step out, tall, broad-shouldered, with a quiet confidence in his stride. He looked around like someone who knew this place, even if he hadn't been here in years. "Can I help you?" Amy asked, her tone polite but cautious. The man smiled faintly. "I hope so. Name's Daniel Borden." Amy froze. The mug in her hand slipped, shattering against the ground. For a heartbeat, the world stood still. Borden. The name hit her like thunder rolling across the hills. Daniel continued, his expression softening. "Ty was my cousin," he said quietly. "I've been away a long time, but I heard what happened. Thought maybe it was time to see the place he loved so much." Amy's throat tightened. The memories of Ty flooded back, the laughter, the love, the life they built. Yet as she looked at Daniel, she didn't see the past. She saw a spark of something new, something unexpected. A chance, maybe, to rediscover what she'd thought was lost forever. Jack watched from the porch, his eyes narrowing in that protective way he always had. Lou stepped beside him and whispered, "Do you think this is good for her?" Jack's voice was calm but sure. Sometimes new faces are just old stories waiting to be written again. Over the next few days, Daniel stayed at Heartland, helping with chores, fixing fences, and learning about the horses Ty once cared for. He didn't talk much about his past, but there was kindness in his silence, a kind of understanding that didn't need words. Amy noticed it. The way he listened, the way he respected her space, the way he didn't try to fill the silence, but made it feel safe again. As the sun set on another day, Amy stood beside Daniel by the corral, the sky painted in shades of gold and violet. Spartan nickered softly in the background. Daniel turned to her and said, "Ty talked about you, you know. He said you had a gift not just with horses, but with hearts. He said you'd always find your way, no matter what." Amy's eyes shimmered, tears threatening to fall, but she smiled a real, gentle smile. "He was right about the horses," she whispered, her voice steady. "The rest, I'm still learning." The camera drifts upward, capturing the wide expanse of Heartland as dusk settles over the ranch. The wind rustles through the trees, carrying the faint echo of Ty's laughter, or maybe it's just memory. Either way, it feels like hope. The days at Heartland began to flow again, not perfectly, not without scars, but with something far more real: resilience. The ranch had survived storms before, yet this time, the healing felt different. It wasn't just about mending fences or fixing what was broken. It was about learning to live with the cracks, to let the light come through them. Amy found herself smiling more often now. She'd wake before sunrise, breathe in the crisp morning air, and feel something she hadn't in a long time: peace. Spartan would nudge her gently, as if reminding her that no matter what she'd lost, she still had purpose. The horses needed her, Heartland needed her, and maybe her heart was ready to open again. Daniel had become part of that new rhythm. He didn't try to replace what Amy had lost. Instead, he helped her remember what it meant to trust the world again. Together, they worked side by side, restoring the damage Nathan had left behind. Each repaired board, each rescued horse, became a quiet act of forgiveness, not for Nathan, but for themselves. One evening, after finishing the day's work, Amy stood by the paddock watching the sunset turn the sky into fire. Daniel joined her, his hands resting on the worn wooden rail. The silence between them was easy, like a soft melody that didn't need words. "You ever think Heartland's too big for one person to hold together?" Daniel asked, his gaze distant. Amy smiled faintly. "It's not about holding it together," she said. "It's about believing in it. Heartland isn't just land or fences. It's the people, the memories, the love that built it. Even when everything falls apart, that's what keeps it alive." Her words hung in the air, carried by the wind that swept across the fields. It was as if the land itself agreed. The trees rustled softly, the horses stirred, and somewhere in the distance, a hawk cried out as the day gave way to dusk. Amy turned to Daniel then, a small, hopeful smile forming. "We've both lost things we can't get back," she said quietly. "But maybe that's what gives us the strength to build something new." He nodded. "A new beginning." The scene fades slowly, the camera capturing Amy's silhouette against the fading sun, Spartan running freely in the background, his mane glinting like gold in the light. The ranch, once scarred by betrayal, now stands strong again, its heartbeat steady, alive, unbreakable. As the final notes of soft piano music rise, Amy's voice echoes one last time, calm and certain. Heartland was never about the past. It's about finding the courage to keep riding forward no matter how many times you fall. The screen fades to black. Text appears. For every ending, there's always another beginning. And just before the credits roll, a faint sound, the approach of a distant truck, reminds us that even peace at Heartland never lasts forever. Another story waits just beyond the horizon.